So welcome, Dave. You are the absolute expert on the build-to-rent sector and the illustrious CEO of the UK Apartment Association. I'm really pleased to have you here today to just have a chat and learn a little bit more about the sector and some of the initiatives that you're working on.
Thank you, Merilee. Thank you. Very kind welcome and yeah, very kind words, entirely undeserved. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about the UKAA and what it does for its members.
So UKAA is the trade body for the UK build-to-rent sector. Our job is to grow the sector faster than we would do otherwise, and we do that by sharing knowledge, opening up opportunities for our members, identifying best practice, and a whole series of things which are focused on growing the sector and making a better experience for customers.
Looking ahead, hopefully with COVID a little bit behind us, what do you see as the opportunities in the next couple of years?
I think the real opportunity is showing that renting can be a positive experience for people, and that means renting in all its forms. Build to rent is the core of what we do, but I believe there's a bigger rental experience, from flexible rentals through to later living, through to student living, all those things about creating a great experience for customers and a great investment opportunity for our investor members. Let's talk about three challenges. The first is actually satisfying demand. We know that as we put buildings up, we can let them. The challenge is building them fast enough and expanding the capacity fast enough. The second is that we need to make sure that we de-risk the sector for our investors. That is, that they can be certain of the returns that they get when they're putting money into it. And the third is making sure from an operational perspective we provide the best experience at the right cost to our customers. Those are three serious challenges, but they're ones I believe we can overcome. And I think that working with you and working on the Trusted Stays proposition is one key way of addressing some of those issues.
Back in 2020, the pandemic hit. That created an opportunity because many companies in the short-term rental sector and members of the Short-Term Accommodation Association decided to come together and do something good. So we launched the Homes for NHS scheme. And within literally a matter of weeks, we had more than 30 companies, including the likes of Sykes Cottages, One Fine Stay, some really big brands and some big names, who all took part and participated in the scheme. We had more than 5,000 NHS workers coming to us looking for accommodation, and we delivered more than £20 million of free stays for NHS workers. But at the same time, what we realized was that some of them were getting put up in the Holiday Inn by the government. And we said to government, look, isn't there a way that you can purchase stays from our sector? Because, of course, everyone's happy to do charity, and we really wanted to support during that period, but to make it a sustainable long-term proposition, we knew that we needed to find a way to institutionalize this in the way that government works. Government said, well, we can only purchase stays from the sector under two conditions. One is the right standards need to be in place. That's where Quality in Tourism and the Short-Term Accommodation Association accreditation came into play, because the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government had already backed that scheme. So we said, what if we only give you companies and operators who are accredited? And they said, well, that's fantastic. That would be really good, but there's still another problem. And the second problem is that we are only going to purchase in one channel. We can't go and contract with lots of different companies. And that's what brought the whole sector together to create Trusted Stays. Now, later that summer, Dave and I got a chance to speak and actually catch up on what our two sectors were doing. I mean, what were your thoughts when you first heard about this initiative and where we got to at that stage?
I think the important thing to say, Merilee, that the build-to-rent sector had also been trying to work with the NHS and support it, and I know that some of my members, in fact, have got involved with you and taken on board, involved in your proposition. So I was really pleased to see what we could do together to help this, help address the issues of the pandemic, but also try and create something sustainable. And really that's where the idea, I think, of getting involved in Trusted Stays as a long-term proposition came from. It seemed to me you'd address some things which coincidentally were challenges to my sector in terms of getting additional rental from, additional income from the whole corporate lets market. So I was really pleased to get involved in it, and the more I got involved, the more we talked, the more excited I got about this as a business proposition, that could address some real issues that I've been thinking about. And that's really where it came from conversations between ourselves. I think it was a really productive conversation. I think led to the idea of the board, the UKAA, STAA, sitting around and having a joint involvement in taking this forward. And I think fundamentally what's great about this is that it brings two sectors together through two organisations that are committed to quality, committed to equality of opportunity for all our members.
Tell me a little bit about why members and companies in the build to rent sector might want to access, professional letters and corporate market.
Build to rent ultimately is about a long-term rental proposition, but that's not all. We have to find ways of attracting new customers, we have to find ways of letting up buildings efficiently, and we have to look at issues like seasonality and issues like voids. How do we do that? There is also the issue of the temptation for some renters to indulge in self-letting, subletting, those things. We find to find a solution to all of those problems that works. And it seems to me that the corporate lets market, the flexible lets market, is one way of addressing that, of smoothing the income flow for investors, providing a good quality experience for people who want to experience build to rent, perhaps without committing to it for long term.
Talking about that audience, corporates and things, how can this help their core business?
We sort of touched on that, but I think if what you're trying to do is to say that one of the big costs facing members is the cost of acquisition of customers. This potentially solves some of the marketing costs associated with that if you're talking to people who eventually might become long-term customers. And it solves some of the acquisition costs that are about how do you tell people what build to rent is about. And one of the problems that the members often talk about is that people don't understand build to rent. People understand though if you're selling an opportunity to come and live for a short term, for a month, 3 months, 6 months, in a nice new building, then that's a pretty good way of introducing them to the experience. And we know from research that once you experience build to rent, once you understand what it is about it and why it's different from renting in the traditional form, then people will be inclined to stay there. Ever since I joined the UKAA back in 2018, one of the challenges that my members had said to me was they'd love to access the corporate lets market, but they didn't know how to do it. The first challenge was technically they didn't know how to get into this market to reach the potential customers. Secondly, the branding issue was a major thing for them. How did they sell their brand to people who'd never heard of them? And thirdly, it was all about the marketing effort involved. And I think TrustedStays for me addressed all of those issues, or potentially addressed all those issues, because at that point it was still an idea rather than a practical proposition as we're talking about it today.
How do you think TrustedStays will help to solve those issues?
TrustedStays, I think, answers that problem in 3 ways. The first is it provides a platform that enables us to access the potential customers without having to invest in a huge amount of marketing in ourselves. The second is it solves the issue of brand, because it allows us to promote build to rent as a sector rather than having to create individual brands which are powerful in that sector.
You talked about the technology and why that's important for your members, but what does the GDS mean and why did that get you excited?
For me, the real eye-opener in this was understanding what the GDS is. From that spider diagram you showed me on the whiteboard to going, actually, oh, that's the problem. That's the problem that we've solved. That is making sure that the properties that my members have are available and can be seen globally by any corporate buyer who wants to look for accommodation, in our case in the UK. That technology and access to it, that's the problem that I think that's been solved, that enables TrustedStays to be a fundamentally different operation than trying to do this yourself.
Why does it matter for all the companies to work together to get access to the GDS?
It means that we can make property available anywhere there's a build to rent proposition, or anywhere there's a build to rent scheme. That's crucial. We know from feedback from corporate buyers when we've talked to them individually that having flexibility about stuff, flexibility about matching where they need accommodation to what's available is crucial. That cannot be done on a single company basis. It has to be done on a sector-wide basis.
What do you think are some of the challenges to people being able to really take advantage of this?
One of the core propositions for build to rent is about being operationally excellent, so managing the cost of operations and providing a quality experience to customers. Now that's great. We know how to do long-term rentals. Some of our members are prepared to invest in the operational expertise to handle the flexible rents market as well. So the ability to manage much faster changeovers of customers, more regular new people coming and leaving the building. But others recognise that actually there are core skills they have, and those aren't. And for those people, finding a partner they can work with is crucial.
So how big, Dave, is this opportunity really? I mean,
Right.
Everybody talks about lots of different opportunities, but is this really one worth people putting their energy into?
Well, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating and trying it, and again, that's why I'm excited to be involved in this at the beginning. But you and I have talked about the total scale of the global flexible rents market as being in the order of £150 billion per year. That's an incredible amount of money. In practical terms, we've also said that maybe 5% of it is addressable by the proposition, so that even that's £8 million. But even we get a small percentage of that over the next couple of years, that's still a huge amount of income potentially flowing into the STAA members and the UKAA members. The scale of the opportunity is certainly there. The challenge then is to say, how do we control the costs associated with it? And again, I come back to the fact that working with regular operators is going to be key to maintaining the cost levels on this stuff. So yeah, I think it is entirely realistic. And ultimately, I suppose the way we'll see it being successful is increased levels of income into our members. But I don't mean just cash income, what I mean is returns on investment. And by and large, we talk about, or I think the science of the market is something like adding an extra 1% to the returns for investors and operators who take advantage of this sector and use it properly.
If you were talking to, let's say, an owner, why should they care?
They should care because it's about maximising income and managing costs associated with getting that new income. And that I think is is an unanswerable proposition. That it's giving easy access to a market that they couldn't get access to otherwise. It's a way of ensuring that investors get more certainty about income or raise the income returns. And it's a way of doing it in a safe way.
One of the things that's really exciting about your sector is, standards are something that people really care about.
Absolutely.
And so how do you think this can work in guaranteeing those standards?
Obviously, the idea of guaranteeing standards is difficult, but what we do know, and for things like the home views reports on the market, we know that customers value the quality of service they get. We know they value the quality of the building they live in through design issues. They value the quality of the amenities that are available to them. And we know that this is, although it's a growing market, it's still a competitive market. And one of the things that operators have to do and owners have to do is ensure those standards are kept up. Fundamentally, proposition build to rent is that it's a better quality of rental. We know that if you're in operation, a situation where there's only one or two build to rent schemes in a town, they will fill up pretty quickly. But we equally know if there are, as you start to see in places like Manchester, there's a lot of schemes opening up, then there is some competition internally and you have to keep your standards up. It is a competitive environment.
Tell me a little bit about the quality in tourism accreditation and why you think that's important for this to succeed.
I think that it's fine for me to say standards are high in the sector, but if I'm talking to people who are coming from overseas, have no experience of build to rent, then having an accreditation that says there's some quality in it is got to be a good thing. I mean, we've looked at the idea of accreditation within the build to rent sector itself, and I'm sure we'll get there long term. This is a good way of expressing that quality to people who don't know the sector, who haven't had a chance to experience it. But having some accreditation is a really good badge that helps people who don't understand the sector.
You sit on the board of TrustedStays, and we've got both the STAA and the UKAA involved. How do we ensure that this is delivering for your members?
I think it's really important that the organisations who are involved in this put a real investment into it. I think that having a seat on the board is both recognition of that investment. We help make decisions about the way this develops. And secondly, it's a way of ensuring that we have a say in what happens to the future of it. Those are important things to me. If this becomes an important part of the proposition for our members, as I hope it does, we need to make sure we protect it and we help it and we nurture it. And that happens through being involved in it and having a say in how this develops.
So thinking about the future, if we could look ahead, 1-2 years into the future, what could corporate lets mean for the sector?
If our core business is long-term rentals, corporate lets provides that additional return for the sector, for our members. But more than that, it provides a platform that we can use to expand elsewhere. One of the really exciting things about TrustedStays is that it is a platform that is not limited to the UK. If we get it working properly, it provides a platform that is about quality, about marketing globally, and potentially, given a lot of my members are international organisations, providing them with an income stream that can be replicated in other territories. If you're a US operator, I'm conscious that the NAA, my equivalent organisation in the US, doesn't have, as far as I've been able to find out, a similar scheme to this.
For anyone who's listening, if they're interested in getting involved in this, what do they need to do?
At this stage, it's very, very simple. Talk to me, drop me an email. Talk to Merilee, drop Merilee an email, and we'll come and talk to you about how best to get involved and talk you through the issues, talk you through the things you need to do to prepare for it. We've got a couple of members signed up. We want to get lots more because it's through you getting involved, signing up, testing it, making sure that we get things absolutely right. This is a proposition that has got a huge amount of potential, but we need to work on it to make sure that it delivers on that potential.
Well, it's been amazing to talk to you today, and thank you for sharing your views on why this is an exciting opportunity. And we'll look forward to discussing further with you in the future to see how it goes and what we can learn as this grows.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, Merilee. This is one of the most exciting things I've been involved in my time at the UKAA, and I'm really looking forward to it growing and become a really valuable source of income for members and a really important growth opportunity globally for the sector.
Thank you.